Hello everyone. This is a new series, new channel, new fresh start series I've made about teaching people English because, well, my mom is learning English, and when I overheard some of the phonics videos that she was listening to, I was absolutely appalled by the, let's say, deeply unscientific nature of those said videos, and I would like to correct that with a proper introduction on English spelling and grammar. So here we go. Of course, the name of the series is English Every Week, so we will be publishing one episode every single week that will teach you English quickly and effectively. So today's show will consist of 5 parts: consonant of the week, vowel of the week, vocabulary of the week, and grammatical structure of the week, which I trust is pretty, self-explanatory, right? Consonant of the week is, I'm just introducing a consonant. Vowel of the week, I'm introducing a vowel. Vocabulary of the week. The word vocabulary refers to words, basically. It's words. It's a group of words that make up a language. That is its vocabulary. So I will be introducing a few new words. Specifically this week, we're going to be introducing food items that I did not know existed before I moved to an English-speaking country and, learn English. Grammatical feature of the week. This week is going to be aspect, which is one of 3 types that I will do on verbs. Aspect, tense, modality. Because this week's video is going to be quite long with me introducing the basic framework of how things are going to work around here. It's going to take a while. If I pick aspects, it's the shortest one, because English only has 2 aspects. But anyways, and then the 5th one is pop culture of the week. So I've noticed that many ESL speakers don't have the, English mindset or English cultural background to comprehend some of the things that native English speakers say. So I want to remedy that by introducing 3 to 5, movies, TV shows, books, songs, maybe things like that will slowly build up that pop culture repertoire that is otherwise lacking. Now, I just have to explain 2 terms here. Pop culture is an English phrase, noun phrase, that refers to basically the shared experiences and understanding of the common people in an area. Of the shared people in an area, right? It is not culture, that it is not tradition, but it is popular, as in it is something that everyone knows, not because they were born in the same place, but because they all experienced the same thing. That is the meaning of pop culture. It is generally less, it's more common. It's less rich, right? Repertoire is, I probably shouldn't have used that word. It basically means the scope of knowledge that you have, right? Scope is like the amount, like just the area of knowledge that you have, and a repertoire is like your set of knowledge, right? I suppose that makes sense. Anyways, starting with consonants of the week. P, which is usually written P, right? At the start of words, such as in the word pants, P is aspirated. I'm just gonna write down a few words that will highlight this consonant for you. So, P is a stop. What does it mean for a consonant to be a stop? Well, basically, that means that you are pushing two things together. That could be your lips, bilabial stop. So this is pushing both of your lips together and pushing air out of them, and then releasing the lips and pushing air through at the same time. So the air comes out of them and makes a sound, you know, like. That is a stop. Stops in English are P, T, K, G, B, and D. Right? Those are the stops in English. In conventional phonics, they describe stops as voiced and voiceless, but that is not quite true. In linguistics, we describe English stops as what is known as having a fortis-lenis distinction. Fortis, meaning strong, obviously. Fort, like very strong. Fortify, you know. In French too, fort, strong, right? Lenis, meaning smooth. What this means is that P is a fortis consonant. It is relatively less voiced and more aspirated than another consonant in the same place, like B. Right? If you say B, you will notice that it's not actually very voiced at all. I'm not saying B, 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 B. That's a common mistake ESL speakers make. You should not fully voice your B's and your voice stops, because they are not voiced stops. They are lenis. Let me write this down. So fortis and lenis stops. P is fortis, T is fortis, K is fortis, B is lenis, D is lenis, G is lenis. Actually, K and G, K and G are voiced and voiceless. So that just leaves P and B, P, B, T, and D as fortis and lenis. Dog. Like a consonant such as dog is not that far off from a consonant such as words such as like tog or something. But I'll get to that when we get to the T and D episode. For now, all you have to know is that P is the fortis consonant and D is the lenis consonant. Which is not the same as voiced and voiceless. I mentioned something called aspiration earlier, right? Aspiration in normal English is like your dreams. It's like your hopes, right? It's like your heimong, your wish. It's a long-term goal that you one day hope, you one day aspire to reach. Aspiration comes from the Latin word aspire, which is breathe, right? Breathe. I think it's specifically inhale, but I'm not sure. Anyways, what this means is that aspiration means that you have to let out a puff of air, as you can see in the word puff or pants. Pants. If you put your hand to your mouth, this is a classical exercise, textbook exercise to test for aspiration. If you put your hand to your mouth, we say pants, you should feel air come out of your, you should feel a puff of air hitting your palm, right? That is aspiration. Aspiration. in words such as pants. Yeah. Now, what criteria does P need to meet for it to be aspirated? Well, it needs to be at the start of a word or at the start of a stressed syllable. For example, in words such as span. Not in words such as span, sorry. But it needs to be in the start of a word. It needs to be in the start of a word. Next, we have words such as span. In consonant clusters, such as SP, at the end of the consonant cluster, P is unaspirated and is also pronounced more lenis. Whereas at the start of a word, P is the most fortis you can get. Span. If you say the word span, you should notice that the P sounds a bit more like, it sounds very much like a B. Span. And if you're not, you should pronounce it much more like a B. Span. At the end of words, such as snap, your stops should be unreleased. What does unreleased mean? Well, remember how when I said stops have a release? That is, you make air come out of your lips by releasing the gap between two. Let's say these are your lips, right? Normally they are like, I assume they are like. So they're like this, right, with your teeth or whatever, right? Then, when you make a stop, when you make a P, you are pressing your lips together, like this, and in reality, there's little to no gap, right? And then you are releasing the stop. Then air comes out and makes a sound. What an unreleased stop means is that this doesn't happen. So at the end of a word, you keep the stop held. Such as in the word stop. Stop. I am not releasing the stop because it is at the end of the word. As with all stops, there is some as with all stops in English, there is something called a masked release, and this applies to both fortis and lenis stops. There's something called a masked release. Because the E vowel is reduced in a word such as trap, holy shit, it shakes so much. Oh my god. You need to lock the wheels or something? Oh, the wheels are locked. No, they're not. I should lock the wheels. Is that better? No. Got it. Anyways. Because the E is reduced, functionally it sounds like tap. Right? What a masked release means is that if this is stop number 1 and this is stop number 2, you would expect that this closing of the stop, of the second stop at the second area, in this case D, which is not created by your two lips, but instead by your tongue and your soft palate or your alveolar ridge. I forgot. I think it's your alveolar ridge. But which is created by, you would expect that the closing of that would happen after the release of air from your mouth. However, in a masked release stop, the closing of the stop actually happens before the release. Now, because this is at the end of a word, this is also never released. So what this means so this happens after this. After this. So essentially what this means is that the actual P sound comes after the D is first produced. Right? If you think about this as a conveyor belt of sorts, right? The P is produced, and then the P moves along, and then the D is produced. But before the P reaches the end, the D is behind. So these consonants are not produced one by one. They overlap with each other. And that is what's known as a masked release. This usually happens with endings such as ed, right? Such as, I think ed is the only one. Really? Maybe tion, but that's not pronounced as a stop. It's a fricative. So, yeah, I think it's most common with endings such as ed, tapped, slapped, mapped, right? They all follow this masked release pattern. And this is extremely important if you want to sound like a native. Cupful. What's up with this word? This is what's up with this word. If there's a cluster PF, natives do not say PF. Natives instead say it as a fricative, as an African, sorry. So instead of saying cupful, we say cupful. We say the instead of, because that takes a lot of time. So once, this is different from masked release, because these two are not offset, right? Because with masked release, what happens is obviously because there's a stop and you have only one mouth, you must release all stops at once. You must release all stops at once, right? So that's the difference between masked release and this African, because this F is not a stop. What does this mean? It means it can be made at the same time as this P, and that is what happens with cuffle. Cuffle. This is also extremely important if you want to sound like a native. There are another 7 consonant clusters which are pronounced as affricates instead of separate consonants. But we will cover that in future consonants of the week. Moving on to the vowel of the week. The consonants of English really aren't that hard, right? The stops are a bit complicated, you know, but English is a Germanic language, right? It developed out of Proto-European, and Proto-European had a ludicrous number of vowels. Like, absolutely ridiculous number of vowels. Proto-Germanic had an even more ridiculous number of vowels. Okay, that's why Danish has 26 vowels. Because Proto-Germanic had like 30 vowels, right? So, like all other Germanic languages, and unlike almost every other language on Earth, English has 20 vowels. Yes, that's right. You thought English had 5.5 vowels. No, English has 20 vowels. And the one we'll be covering today is the simplest one because I need to introduce this framework to you again. And I'd like to keep this video under 1 hour. So, the vowel we are introducing is STRUT. It is drawn as an upside down V, and it is present in its name. The U in strut is a strut. You may also notice that the T exhibits behavior that we talked about earlier. This T is pronounced more lenis, strut, because of what we talked about earlier. In consonant clusters, stops are pronounced more lenis. But I digress. A digression. By the way, if an English speaker says, I digress, it means we've gone off topic, and now it's time to come back onto topic. Strut is present in the sound U. How is it spelled? And with that, we have to talk about vowel spelling because it is complicated. And there is a linguistic theory that I really like, proposed by Rowling in 2004, I believe. And it is a model of English vowels based on then they categorizes English spellings based on 4 groups. Lax vowels, lax. Tense vowels, heavy vowels, and tense R vowels. And obviously there are 5 vowel letters in English. A, E, I'll give myself a little bit more space here. A, E, I, O, and U. Right? U is special because it actually has 2 types. But basically, lax vowels are spelled as they are. For example, the word meat. The word meat? No. Sorry. The word met. Met. Tense vowels are followed with a silent E. Meat. As you can see, this E transforms this first E. Heavy vowels are followed by an R. For example, merit. Merit. And tense R vowels are followed with an R and then an E. Here. Right? So I will underline letters that change the vowel. Right? I'm sure you can come up with a bunch of other examples, such as mat, mate, march, and mare. And this is what I'm calling the regular vowels, right? Now, what does strut, what spelling is strut? Strut can be spelled as a lax U, for example, in the word strut. I just realized a bunch of people might not have encountered the word meat before. M-E-T-E, meat, is a what's it called? I'm blanking. It's the opposite of an antonym. Synonym. That's right. It's a synonym of ration. Right? If you want to meet something to other people, you are distributing them. You're distributing it to them, usually out of kindness or good faith, and it's usually a very small portion, right? That's meat. And a mare is a male horse. In some Norman words, such as love, I'll put this as a separate column, irregular. In some Norman words, strut can be spelled as love. Can you notice how these are the same sounds? Strut, love. They're the same sound. Love, strut. They're both They're both the sound. Right? Strut, love. Both the same sound. Of course, this is not the only way of spelling. This is a lax O, but this is not the only way of spelling strut, clearly not. You can also be formed with a heavy O, such as in the diagonal, such as in the word worry. Worry. But these are irregulars, and is usually spelled with a lax U. How do different accents pronounce this? Because consonants usually do not differ much in accents. It usually takes an exceedingly long time for consonants to change through, spirantization. Right? That is usually a thousands-year-long process. Right? Grimm's Law took like 2,000 years or something to completely get to its final form. And obviously no accent of English has been evolving for 2,000 years. Those are called separate languages, such as Frisian or Scots. Right? So instead, accents of English differ primarily in the vowels, because those are very, very, very easy to shift. But I picked strut because there's really not much dialectal variation. Most dialects of English pronounce it as strut, as However, Australians say oh. So there's that. But most dialects of English say right? I also think I have to get into let me check my notes. Do I? Yes. Yes. Okay. So in addition to the silent E, there's another method to shift between lax and tense and heavy and tensile. There's another way to tensify, I guess, a vowel, and that is to make a digraph. Right? For example, the word dream. The E in dream is the same as the E in meat, because there is another A, and this is the letter that transforms the pronunciation of the normally lax E, right? And the same goes for heavy and tensile. It's just this is the same process. And this works. This works beautifully until you add a T, and now it's dreamt and it's lax. But you can't. Dream and realm. But EA is actually an exception because it can be both lax and tense. But a lot of digraphs cannot be both lax and tense. Most digraphs actually cannot be both lax and tense. Most digraphs are usually all tense. And the first vowel is the form that it will take. And that's also why I like. That's also why I like this this system a lot. That's not to say, of course, the second digraph is never pronounced. It is often pronounced, actually, in words such as soy. But there's a word such as soy, but the soy in the O in soy is the same O as in soap and not the same O as in so. Is OA also an exception? Crap. Okay, just disregard what I said just now. Just check the source material. It's digraphs do not often translate one-to-one into their tense counterparts, but they will modify the vowel. So there's that. Sometimes they do, but often they don't. And this is more of a guideline than a general rule. Right? But I find it helps. Anyways, why am I saying this? Because the digraph OU is an exception. Digraph OU can be both tense and lax, and the tense form of OU is pronounced as strut, southern. Again, if you remove the suffix, it becomes south. But I like to think of it as two negatives make a positive. If you think about it that way, it's sort of works. But I'll stop doing mental gymnastics and move on to vocabulary of the week. Yes. Here are some common ingredients used in English-speaking regions and cuisines in English-speaking worlds that I did not know much about until I moved to an English-speaking region. Turnip. What is a turnip? Well, it is a vegetable. It is a white vegetable. I think it's a root vegetable that tastes sort of like I don't really know how to describe it. It's like sharp and earthy, I suppose. Rutabaga is a green. Or is it a squash? I always forget. A rutabaga, okay, a rutabaga is also a squash, right? It is also a root vegetable, sorry. It is similar to a turnip, but not exactly like a turnip. I have never had one, so I can't tell you how it tastes, but it's like a Swedish turnip. Rhubarb is I think of it as sort of like an herb, like, you know, it's so similar to cinnamon, in that you add it to desserts and it tastes extremely unique. I have no words to describe what a rhubarb tastes like. Paprika is a New World spice. It is used a lot in American cooking. It has this sort of like woody, smoky flavor that's slightly spicy, and I think it's really good. But it is like the main component of why American barbecues will taste smoky, because they add ungodly amounts of paprika. I should probably spell these words. Turnip. Turnip. Rutabaga. Rhubarb. Paprika. Leek is similar to a spring onion, but it is sort of more tough, and you actually eat the white part. It's like more of an onion than a spring onion, but less of an onion than a brown onion, or some shallots, you know? There are many types of green that's used in Western cooking. For example, mustard greens are a type of salad vegetable. It is also known as Chinese spinach, apparently. I did not know this until I looked that up. Collard greens are another type of salad vegetable. Honest to God, I cannot tell the difference between them. If you told me, if like my life was on the line, could not tell you the difference between like rocket and arugula and collard greens and alfalfa, but all types of salad vegetable. Rocket is like the generic one. You know, it's the one you see when you order a salad at some Western restaurant. You will see rocket because it's the most common salad vegetable. Kale is like the allegedly healthier one that nobody really eats. Arugula is another type of salad vegetable that looks exactly the same as all the rest, honestly. And alfalfa is like a yellow salad vegetable, I think. More yellow than mustard greens. Kale, rocket, mustard green, collard green, arugula, alfalfa. There are also many types of bean. I know the stereotype British people really like beans, and that is kind of true because they sure do have many words for green. Bean. And honestly, I can't tell apart any of them either. Mung beans are sort of like they're green beans essentially. They're similar to green beans. In Cantonese, it's lok dao. In Mandarin, it's same blue dao. But let me put this a heading. Bean. mung beans, which equal green in most senses of the word, I find. Chinese use it for soups and stuff. Kidney beans. Kidney beans are purple beans that are sort of like soft inside, and they have a like a sort of mellow, earthy flavor. String beans. I don't eat many beans, so. String beans are also another use of the word is also green bean. But I think this is mainly a Chinese derived word, and this is like a Western derived word. Green beans are like these like string beans are like these long beans with no seeds that like you stir fry, right? And it with like soy sauce or something, and they're crunchy and a bit sweet, and they're pretty good, especially if you stir fry them right. Lima beans. I also have no idea what those are. I'll be honest. Oh, they are. The hell are those things? I think I've only ever seen them dried. Oh yeah, no. I have honestly never seen this in my life, but I always hear it mentioned. Lima beans are a type of bean that is grown in, I think, Africa. And they are the taste range from slightly creamy to mildly herby, apparently, which is cool, but I still won't be eating these. Lentils are like very, very, very small yellow beans that sort of taste a little bit like rice or quinoa. And it is a good source of protein and a good source of carbohydrates as well. And some people really like to eat them as their staple food, which I don't really get. But black beans are another East Asian thing that are like they're sort of like, I don't really know how to describe them. They have a black bean taste, let's say. They taste like black beans, and they look black, as you'd expect. And they taste, honestly, just like every other bean. Like, let's be real. There's really not that much difference between some of these. And chickpeas, which are like large, spherical, round beans that peas, I guess, since they look like peas, that are commonly deep fried and served as a cool snack. Parsnip is another root vegetable that is sort of like turnip and carrot. It's like a bit yellow, I never actually had it, but it shows up a lot in British food. Zucchini. They're like cucumbers, but with slightly less rotational symmetry, and they also are significantly softer. They're not bitter. They have this sort of like thin membrane that makes them a lot easier to eat, and they are really flavorful when fried. And lastly, squash. This one's actually a species. This one's actually a genus or a family or something. Not a single vegetable. Included in this genus includes the bottle squash or the calabash, right? It includes a lot of Chinese vegetables that I have no idea what the name is in English, like hapjiangua and donggua. It also includes vegetables such as the butternut and the pumpkin. I think you know what a pumpkin is, but a pumpkin is a squash. I think it also refers to something in like British English, like a specific kind of squash that's sort of like shaped like a bottle gourd. But I have never had it, so I cannot tell you how it tastes. Grammatical feature of the week is aspect. Get rid of some of this. I won't need much space, don't worry. What is aspect? Aspect is a way to express, is a way to inflect a verb, right? So you know verb, objects of motion, that's not quite true. They are objects of, words of motion. But that's not quite true since they are more like verbs of doing, or verbs of being, or verbs of words of being, words of being, words of doing, words of going, things like that. You know, they're like actions, but not really. It's a bit broader than actions, but it'd be very confusing for me to explain it to you right now because I did not do any preparation on what verbs actually are. So let's move on to aspect. Aspect is a way of inflecting verbs. Now, if tense is a measurement of a verb's position on the timeline, if tense is a measure of the object's position on a timeline, then aspect, a verb's position on a timeline, then aspect is the measurement of what the verb, of what the state of the verb before and after that time of the tense is. For example, if I use the present, there are two aspects in English. I just want to make this clear. Continuous and perfected. Continuous, if you say something without an aspect, what it means is that the action started here and it stopped here, right? Or maybe you don't know when the action started or stopped. But aspect, if you view something with a continuous aspect, for example, continuous present, it means this, right? It means you are continuing this action from the present to the future. For example, I run. right? If I say I run, it means, in traditional English at least, I run. But I just realized I need a third one here. Let's go. If I say I run, what does that mean? It means I'm currently running. But you might notice when I say I am currently running, I am not using the typical continuous. I'm not using the typical continuous, the typical structure of not having an aspect. And that is because in the present tense, in modern English, the aspect, if I have no aspect ending, it becomes the habitual aspect. I run. I eat at 7:30 every morning. I wake up at 7:30 every morning. Versus I am waking up, which is technically the continuous aspect, but it's taken on more of a connotation of no aspect. But if you say I am waking, technically, this is what it means. Right? What does perfective mean? It means the action stopped at this point in time. It completed, the action stopped at this point in time or some point before in time. For example, I have helped him. I have helped him. As in, the action of me having helped him extends from some point in the past that's not quite the past tense and extended to some point before the present that isn't quite the present. This is still the present perfective construction. Why? Well, obviously, because I'm relating this action to the present. Right? I have helped him. Before this point in the present, helping had occurred, and it had finished before this point in the present. As opposed with a past perfective, which is I had helped him. Before some point, even before the past tense, I had helped him. Right? But then, something changed after the past tense. I had helped him, but he was ungrateful, which is the past tense. He was ungrateful, so I stopped helping him, which is the past continuous. Since this point in the past, I have stopped helping him. I am no longer helping him. So, I am no longer helping him. But I will be helping him in the future. Right? What does it mean to... but that's not all, because you can also combine the continuous and perfective aspects in English. What does this mean? Well, if we continue on the example of me having had helped him, I had helped him. He was ungrateful. Let me put this down. I had helped him. He was ungrateful. So I stopped helping him. Have. So I have stopped helping him. But I will help him later. Be helping him later. Now, there is no such thing in English as the future tense. I will explain why next week, but there is no such thing in English as the future tense. So this is actually This is a particle and should be disregarded. And this should be I am helping him later, if I keep this symbol. Now, I am helping him later. Right? Which is functionally the same. And that's why, that's part of why the future tense doesn't actually exist in English. But what does it mean for something to be something to be continuous and perfected? It means it's stopping at some spot. Right? For example, if I were to replace this with I had been, helping him. I had helped him is actually 1 point. I have helped, that's inaccurate. I had helped him, actually this 1 point. I gotta correct that. Hold on. One second. Right, it's EN. My bad. I had been helping him. This actually is the perfective. Is the continuous perfective. I had been helping him. I had helped him, as in that is 1 point along here. I had helped him. But he was ungrateful. Ungrateful. Stopped helping him. Help him later. Helping him later. So that is the basics of aspect, right? Continuous indicates a continuous action. Perfective indicates either the beginning or the end of an action. You can combine this with a continuous to indicate that the action has begun and is continuing, or is continuing and will end, or something similar to that extent. In normal English, the present continuous is functionally the same as the present simple, because the present simple is now the present habitual. And lastly, we are doing pop culture. Right? I have 3 shows for you today. Firefly. What did I pick again? This is Spinal Tap. And Die Hard. So Firefly is a TV show. It's an American space drama show about the lives of basically fugitives on a ship in the future. It is sort of a social commentary on how even if technology is going to advance, nothing much is going to change. Right? It is a deeply, it's a very, very great show. Sadly cancelled. This is Spinal Tap is a 80s mock documentary on the glorification of and pretentiousness of rock circles. Right? Rock music is a genre of music characterized by drums and electric guitar and heavy, sort of heavier music. right? And this is Spinal Tap is a mock version of common documentaries that have been coming out, like about, I don't know, like the Beatles, which sort of glorify the rock lifestyle. And This is Spinal Tap is a very funny parody of those documentaries. It includes the iconic line, "Turn it up to 11." This one goes to 11, so if I want it to be louder, yeah, I just turn it up to 11. Hilarious. And Die Hard is an 80s action film, widely considered to be the sort of progenitor of action. Progenitor is like a person that births something, like Genesis, right? Progenitor, that births, they basically birthed the modern action scene. Die Hard is about a New York detective who is attempting to stop a terrorist hijacking of a skyscraper. That's it for this week. It's been a lot, and I may tone it down in future weeks, but English is an extremely complicated language, and these topics don't get nearly covered enough, so, yeah, bye. If there's one thing you take away from this video, aspect is separate from tense. Thank you for watching.